Hello there. Hi. It is a Saturday morning. One Saturday morning. Like, where are my millennials at? Where are you at? Oh. It's Saturday morning. It's 10:16 in the morning, day after Valentine's Day. I hope you had a lovely Valentine's Day. I was home working, which honestly, is exactly how I would have wanted to spend it this year. I feel like I've been single for the past few years. Yeah, I haven't really had, you know what? I did have a love interest back in 2021 around Valentine's Day, but he was such a disappointment. He was like my first obvious narcissist that I was dating, and he just it was bad. And then 2022, I wasn't seeing anyone. I don't think I wasn't dating. 2023, I also wasn't dating. I usually am not dating in February. For me, February, I'm usually just, what was happening in 2024? I was with my parents. I'm usually just honestly focused on myself, my business, and my well-being in February, to be completely honest. And usually, I don't know, that's just been the vibe for the past few years as I've been on this entrepreneur journey, which is kind of what I want to talk to you about today. You guys may have seen in my other videos how I've been talking about, I'm going to share my, road to riches story. I'm going to start that vlog. And in my head, I really wanted it to be organized, and I wanted to show you guys pictures and edits and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, Whitney, of all the things you do, make it simple. So I was like, you know what, today's the day. I'm going to record it because I feel like it, and it's fine. So I'm looking over here because I have phases that I want to talk to you guys about. But first, about as far as how I plan to build my wealth. But first, if this is the first time you're seeing this video, this is the first time you're hearing about me talking about creating a road to riches journey. I want to talk about a few things first. Of number one, why. I've been, at this business now since really the beginning of 2021 is when I started my solo journey. I quit my job end of 2020. I was making six figures finally, and I was really young, but I was burned out, and I wanted to see what I could make of myself, at the height of a pandemic, because everyone was dying, and I was like, fuck this. I don't want to live a life where I'm killing myself for the man, and I am unable to dedicate myself to my dreams and my goals, and the whole reason why I moved myself to New York to begin with. So after pursuing acting for a while and then having some revelations there, in that aspect of my journey, my career, I decided I wanted to take a step back from that, and I wanted to focus on building Lightworker Wit, which was becoming a thing. Unexpectedly, it was always a goal. I knew I wanted to have influence or impact, or at least a large following, but I didn't really have anything else in mind beyond that, truly. I didn't, at the time that I started Lightworker Wit, I wasn't thinking about events. I wasn't thinking about partnerships. I wasn't thinking about all the other things that have created since starting Lightworker Wit. I just Googled myself today, and I'm like, bitch, digital footprint on fleek, okay? I was like, okay, let a bitch Google Lightworker Wit, fuck around and find out. She in these streets, okay? And I came across the article from last year that the Bash wrote about me. They emailed me, and they wanted my answers on some stuff, how I am successful in the Bash. And I thought they didn't publish it because I think they had quoted me in part of a larger article. And I didn't see the full article, I think, until today. So maybe I'll link that here for you if you want to read it. It's from June of last year, where they wrote, I was like, shit, not me having a publication. So it's just really exciting, just this journey that I've been on. But even with that, I've been doing a lot of different things since 2021 to keep money coming in. So since that journey, I think all of 2021, I was working for myself. Then in 2022, I started to do temp work for my friend. And my friend still worked in HR, so I started to do temp work for her company, and that was really helpful to kind of keep money coming in. And then in 2023, I finally went back to work full time at her company. And that was great. And I went back to making six figures, but I was really miserable for completely different reasons. It's really hard to go back to work after you've worked for yourself. Because there's just, I mean, number one, you're on your own time, right? And that is an adjustment in itself. If you're not somebody that can like be self-motivated, you should not be working for yourself, because that is an actual requirement of working for yourself. Like, you have to wake up every day, really before you go to bed, you have to know what you'll be working on the next day. You really do. You have to know, okay, I'm going to work on this content, or I need to get back to these clients, or I want to work on this part of my business. I want to work on my website. I want to work on social media. You have to go to bed kind of knowing, even if it's not clear, you have to know, okay, I'll be focusing on this tomorrow, or this is what I want to work on this week, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're not self-motivated, I won't say discipline, because I feel like me and discipline, we have a very interesting relationship, which is what I'm trying to work on. I'll talk about that in a second. I need to make a list of things I want to talk about, okay? Because I know this video is not going to be super organized, so just roll with me. This is kind of just like a little bit of stream of consciousness, but we're going to be organized. So I want to talk about discipline. I want to talk about, I don't know what else. Anyway, so you have to be self-motivated, okay? If you want to work for yourself. Or even if you're just trying to grow income in addition to your 9-to-5. So anyway, end of 2024 or 2023, I quit that job. My parents really needed a lot of help. So I left my apartment in Jersey, which I didn't move out. I just kept it there. And then went to stay with my parents for like 2.5 months. And then I came back home to kind of get my life back together. And I continued. I was trying to get a job. I quit that job at the end of 2023. And I was like, whatever, I'll get a new job. It's going to be no problem. And it was actually really, really difficult. It was really specifically at the salary range that I was looking for and the type of jobs that I was looking for. It was really hard. And I think a lot of it has to do with, my resume. A lot of it had to do with my insecurities and my energy that I was putting towards it. Because in reality, I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to for security. I didn't really want to go back to work. So that is actually when, in March of 2023, where I was applying aggressively to jobs while I was at my parents' house. And my parents also had really terrible Wi-Fi in Georgia. So it was really like all the ways that I would normally make money. So like sometimes, I don't do this much anymore, but one of the ways I make money is doing like hotline calls for Mystic Sense, where people can call a psychic and ask a question. Now, I don't do that much anymore, because it's usually people who are in low vibrational energy, and it's by the minute. So sometimes I feel really stressed to kind of deliver a reading within 6 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever they paid for. But it's usually people who want to know what's going on with their situationship or their job search, stuff like that, and they want really quick answers. So it's fine. It's just not the way I like to work. So I couldn't even do that because the internet connection was so unstable at my parents' house. It was crazy. And I would have to go to Starbucks or like Panera, and then I'd feel weird bringing all my tarot cards in Georgia at a public, establishment to do readings. So it was just it was a lot just to try to keep money coming in while I'm looking for another job, while I'm also supposed to be home looking after my parents. It was a very complicated experience, and it was not, it didn't happen. It didn't come together the way it wasn't. I worry sometimes that it wasn't as helpful or as impactful as I wanted to be for my parents, because I came to Georgia expecting to like be helpful and like move around the house. But then I kind of had to switch into survival mode because I still had rent to pay, and I didn't have any savings. So like at the end of 2023, my money was really good, but I had went on a trip for my brother-in-law's birthday in New Orleans, and then I was home for Christmas. So like all of the savings I did have, because I paid down a bunch of debt, racked it all back up. So it was just like, great. So anyway, okay, I understand that a lot of my decisions, my emotional decisions and finances have created my financial scenario. And that's actually a really good topic that Dave Ramsey talks about. I know a lot of people don't love him, and this is where I'm going to say, it's probably going to be linked below. I'm going to make sure I make a note of this. A financial literacy. I have a list on Amazon called Financial Literacy, and it's books that I recommend if you're trying to grow your knowledge about wealth, saving, and all that. Now, here's the thing. You might be like, well, Whitney, why are you recommending this shit? And like, you're not a millionaire yet. Because I'm not. High key on yet, okay? The problem is, and this is what I want to talk about, finances are very behavioral. It's very emotional. You could tell what's important to somebody based on how they spend. And I did not grow up with rich parents. So I am constantly having to unlearn some of the financial behaviors and financial trauma that I've grown up with, right? So that's something that I work through. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that. Growing up with, I wasn't taught specifically how to save. I wasn't taught how to adequately manage a budget. A lot of things, these are things I had to learn when I was in college on my own, making my own money and stuff like that. So anyway, I had to teach myself, like, what are these stocks about? And like, what are the different types of investment tools and how can I really get started? So I'm in a very different place now where I've done Dave Ramsey's baby steps. I didn't finish them, but I started them. And when I say finish them, I mean getting to the step where you're creating 6 months of savings and now you're beginning to, and something about, I think he has a plan about insurance, and then he has a plan about a baby step about investment. Because Dave Ramsey's plan is, and I might be quoting this wrong, but get your emergency fund together, which I do agree with. Get your emergency fund together, which is like $1,000. That may be different now because I read this like less than 10 years ago. I don't know, 2018, 2019. And then he talks about after you get your baby steps together, then you want to get your once you get your emergency fund together, then you want to create, I think he says then start attacking. I don't know which is first. I don't know if it's get your 3 to 6 months of savings and then debt. I feel like it's emergency fund and then debt. I think that's what it is. Just look it up just to be sure. So baby emergency fund, like $1,000, so that if you have a car breakdown or if like whatever, you got that, which happens to my fucking 2012 Hyundai all the time, then you have something, that's not going to completely jolt you. Because most people, most Americans in this economy in 2025 are living paycheck to paycheck. That's just the reality. I just saw an article yesterday that in New York, they're selling 3 eggs as Lucy's. Like they cigarettes. That is wild. Anyway, so he talks about emergency fund, paying down all your credit card debt, like all your debt. And then I think the next step is 3 to 6 months of savings. I really might have those two mixed up. And then I think he talks about once all your debt is paid down, then he talks about creating, like making sure you have insurance policies in place, I think, and then investment is last, I think. Don't quote, just look it up. But I like his idea, his plan, because I did it. I had saved like $1,000 and then I had paid off all of my credit card debt. This was back in 2019, I think. And so I was feeling really good, with the exception of my student loans, because that's like another monster. But I paid all of my credit card down. I finally had an 800 credit score, bitch. With this skin tone, okay? 800. Is it 800 now? No, it is not. But life is a journey. Life is a journey. So I paid all my credit card debt down, and then I started to save for my goal was to start paying my student loans, but I was saving. But then the pandemic happened. And so then I was like, whoa, bitch, I don't know, that student loan might have to wait. So I started saving because I wasn't commuting. So that was money that I was allowed to keep in my pocket. And then I wasn't, there like travel plans I had canceled. So I was saving that money because we weren't going out. We weren't doing anything. Like it was a perfect time to save money. And I was at the time, I had a really good job. So I was comfortable financially in 2020, which is great, but I know a lot of other people weren't. So I was really blessed in that way. So by the time at the end of 2020, I knew I was like preparing myself for months to quit my job, and which was a whole thing in itself. I'm like, Whitney, you finally got to 6 figures. You're the first person in your family to do this. Are you really going to make this decision? Like I felt like I was doing my ancestors an injustice, but I was like, no, I have to do this because I have to believe and understand that I am valuing myself more than this, right? And this is also like wanted to follow my dreams. So at the time I did that, I had about $10,000 in savings, I think. And I think I had 10,000. I think I had 10,000 that summer saved, which is huge. But I think I took about 6 of that to buy my car cash in 2020. And this was before used cars were super expensive. So I really lucked out on that one. I bought it for like $6,000, spent another 3 to get it. Is that right? I might be fucking up these numbers. Spent another 3,000, I think, to get it fixed up, just whatever it needed. I think I put a whole new set of tires on it and whatever other maintenance it needed. And then I still had a few thousand saved by the time I quit my job, because I had already created a couple of income sources by the time I quit my job, where I felt like, okay, I have some traction. Let me see if I can expand upon it once I have more time to dedicate to this. That was not the case. And even still, I think about all the time, I'm like, if I went back to that time, how would I do things differently? I really think about that all the time, and I don't have an honest answer with everything I've been through these past 4 years. Because in March of 2020, I took myself on a solo trip to Mexico. That was like another like $2,000, $2,500 that really I should have held on to, but I felt like I needed to reset. I mean, I was going through a lot. I was so alone. I had broken up with my boyfriend that we were about to be engaged. And I just felt like I was removed from my family. I was isolated. I just felt like I needed to do something for me to get out of cold ass New Jersey. It was a lot. It was a lot that I was going through. So I don't regret taking that trip, but it wasn't the best fiscal decision. And sometimes I'm just like, it doesn't even matter, because I could have still saved that money and I could have still been in the same position that I ended up being in, which was scraping by. Because at some point the savings run out. So I try to think about, is there anything I would have done differently that like I could have prevented myself from feeling the strain? Because you don't know what you don't know. And I was still building my audience, building my exposure. So it's not like I have the client base that I have now or the influence that I have now. So I'm just like, I don't know how I would have handled that differently. I think, because again, this is at the height of the pandemic. I think looking back on it now, what I would have done and what I should have done is I should have gotten a part-time job, which is actually something else I want to talk about. Even remotely, because I was actually offering myself freelance. I had gotten a couple freelance jobs in terms of like my HR and operations skills. I got like a couple, but it wasn't something I was pushing for because I was trying to get out of that world. But in retrospect, that's something I should have done to maintain some sort of stability. And I'm talking about because everything was remote at that time. So I should have had either a virtual assistant job that was just maybe I don't care if it was 10, 15 hours a week, just something that was reliable and consistent while I built these other income streams. That's something I should have done, because a full-time job, especially one that I had, it's a lot of investment. And that's why I feel like it's really difficult depending on what you do full-time. It's really hard to build a business when you especially if you're in management, you have a lot of demands, and that can really be draining. And that's a big part of why I don't want to go back to work as far as a 9 to 5. I do want to talk about part-time, because especially because I live in Jersey, I imagine commuting to New York and then going to a job, coming home about 7:30, 8 o'clock, trying to walk my dog, fix a meal, and then trying to also work on content for you guys, and then try to go to sleep and do it all over again. I don't think I have it. I don't have it. I try to think about years ago, I was starting a movie review channel, and I was really excited about it. And somehow I found time to do that, because I would go to movies after work, and I would come home, but also I was making 10, 15-minute videos. They weren't intense. So maybe that's why it was a bit more manageable. But this is a whole thing, as you guys know. That was more manageable to create and whatever. But what I'm doing, a lot of it is time sensitive when I create content based around full moons and the new moons and monthly forecasts and stuff like that. planetary events, it all is time sensitive. So I just I don't know that I could. I am not willing at this point today, February 15th, I am not willing to make my business part-time, because that's what I would have to do, right? And I don't, because I know that I have the momentum that I want, and I know that I'm close to getting to where I want to be to create that financial abundance for me. So I want to talk about part-time job, right? Because this is important to build the road to riches. So you guys know, if you've watched my Moving in Faith journey, y'all know it was not looking good for sis. It was looking, when I tell y'all, first of all, watch the series if you haven't. All of my faith, all of my chips were in moving. I was like, I am moving. I don't know how it's going to come together. It's going to come together. This is where I'm moving. And I just don't, y'all, talk about the level of insanity. I booked movers to this townhouse before I even set my application. I was like, yes, I will be moving to this address, and here's my deposit. I think I paid two different companies. I paid a $50 deposit to Piece of Cake, and I paid a $100 deposit to another company, another local moving company. Because I was like, well, if I have to change the date, I want to have two options. And I hadn't even applied to this building yet, or this complex yet. So when I say everything was in faith, I really mean it. I really fucking mean it. But I think that's important, and that's part of why I'm creating this video, because I think what was important for me at the time was I wanted to be an example of really showing my followers what it looks like to be living in faith as a Christian spiritualist, which isn't a real thing, but it is to me. Because I think a lot of people feel you hear people say all the time, well, I'm more spiritual, I don't really go to church. And I'm like, I hear that, but God has a very significant place in my life, and I don't dismiss him. I really marry the worlds, right? And so I wanted to show my followers what that looks like for me, leaning into my faith, leaning into my Christianity, while also being a spiritualist who practices tarot and uses the energy of crystals and uses the law of attraction and uses manifestation and, really understands hoodoo practices. So anyway, watch that if you haven't. But that's part of why I want to create this video, because I feel like it's powerful to set an intention, not only for myself, but for my audience, because I really want y'all to see the glow up together. Okay. I want people 10 years from now to go back. Y'all ever do that? You ever go to your favorite followers and see their early videos? I imagine that for my followers. I did that for Desi Perkins recently. I did that for Desi Perkins. I didn't do it for Jackie Ina. I did it for Desi Perkins, and I went to go see her old video. And apparently Desi Perkins used to be really popular on Instagram before she started her YouTube. And her Instagram family was like, get on YouTube, get on YouTube, get on YouTube. Because even her first video was actually quite good. It wasn't shitty. So you could see obviously a difference in her content creation since then. But I wanted to see where she started from versus what she's grown to. And now Homegirl has a skincare line. She has a sunglass line, and she's growing her family, and she's really created a wonderful life for herself and her family. So I like to see that, and I hope to inspire my followers in the same way with this Road to Riches journey, because I desire a life of abundance and wealth. I don't want to be a billionaire, because I feel like when you're a billionaire, that's too much responsibility. If I'm being really honest, I don't need that much money. I don't need that much money. You know what I'm saying? I feel like billionaire money, it's a different type of commitment, and I don't want to be involved. I would like to be a millionaire. I would like to live comfortably. I would like to take vacations when I want to take vacations. And I would like to set my family up with money to grow their own whatever, money for my nieces and nephews, for whatever they fucking want to do, money for my kids if I decide to have them, and, have money for my parents to retire comfortably. These are the things that I'm thinking about, right? So I got off track. Part-time job. So you guys know, I've mentioned that because this townhouse that I'm in, I doubled my rent, right? I doubled my rent, and I said, okay, I work for myself, and as most entrepreneurs have that up and down, right? You have months that are really good, and then you have months that are really low, and you just kind of have to ride that wave. So I said, okay, Whitney, we can't play around. We need to make sure that, you can maintain the income coming into your house now that you have this new townhouse. You're raising your expenses. So I thought to myself, I was like, well, what would be comfortable for me so that I could still work on my business in a way that feels comfortable? So I used to have a job at a hotel years ago in Forsyth. I used to work at Mansion on Forsyth Park at their restaurant, 700 Drayton, because I went to school in Savannah. I went to SCAD. And so that was one of my jobs. And it was perfect because they were hotels, so they had a breakfast shift. So I was there. I had to be there like 6:30 in the morning to open at 7, because breakfast was from like 7 to like 11 or something. If not long, no. Yeah, breakfast was like 7 to 11. Then there was like a split to turn over to shift over from lunch to lunch. So my shift was from like 6, I was like never there at 6. I was there at like 6:45, 6:45 to 2 p.m. That was my shift, okay? And that was perfect for me because I had classes and I had school. And eventually, once my school was done, I went back to work at an accessory shop so that I could save to move to New York. So anyway, I was like, if I could have something early like that again, where it doesn't cut into my day too much, where I still have time to do other things, that would be ideal. So that's what I was looking for. So at first I was looking for like more dog walking jobs, because you guys know I love dogs. I have a dog, and that was part of how I was making money in my old department. So I would dog sit a lot, which started to get really crazy because the infestation was getting out of control, and I just didn't feel comfortable as much taking in dogs. And it was embarrassing to, like, walking people through the building. It was so bad. I was like, oh, this building, like, they don't keep it up, but my apartment looks nice. That was part of how I made money. That was like side cash. In this townhouse, I can't board dogs. And then I haven't really been getting a lot of hits for like to dog walk like locally. I think because it's more family oriented, where I lived was more like, you know, commuters and like young people like going to work and stuff. I think it was, so here where I am, I think it's more community based, where they might have a neighbor look after their dog or something. So I haven't been getting a lot of work that way. And I did apply for some dog walking things, but I haven't been getting any hits. So I was like, well, even on Rover or the places I applied. So then there was like this coffee shop job, that was my first job when I was 16. I worked at a coffee shop. So I saw it and I was like, oh, that'd be good. But like, I don't know. So I kind of like put it to the side. Then I saved it, I think. And I was talking to my mom and my friend, same day, different times. And I was saying, yeah, I'm applying for part-time jobs because I want to make sure I have some little bit of consistent income, you know, coming in addition to all the ways I make money from my business. And so both of them, my mom and my friend, at separate times, they were like, oh, have you thought about a coffee shop? And I was like, okay, this is obviously confirmation. So I went ahead, and I didn't even edit my resume, y'all. Like, I legit sent my HR resume. I was like, I emailed them. I was like, hey, I haven't worked a coffee shop job in a long time, but like, I can do it. This is my HR resume, but like, if you really want my restaurant experience, you can have it, but it's forever ago. It's like literally 15 years ago. Then they called me and they were like, hey, can you come in? So I had a chat, and then I talked with them for a minute, and then they wanted me to do a trial shift. And then they hired me. So it's been nice just to have that. And I started the day after Christmas. So I've had that little part-time money just to make sure I've got something. I cannot live off that. It is something just to make sure that I've got income coming in, because I realize, and a little bit of this has to do with like Saturn, I think is in like one of my houses Saturn is in a position for me, for my birth chart, that is disciplining me in my finances. So I really wanted to make sure that I do things differently, because when you elevate, what got you there is not what's going to keep you there, right? So I wanted to make sure, okay, Whitney, we've got to make sure we're disciplined so that we can elevate and create the lifestyle we desire, even if that means taking a part-time job for a while. And I just wanted to encourage anybody who's going through that, because a lot of entrepreneurs do that all the time, or that you might see entrepreneurs make videos of like why they went back to work or da-da-da-da. And I still don't want to go back to work full-time, because again, if I go back to a full-time job, 9 to 5, it will require me to make my business part-time. And I just don't want to do that. I really don't. So I have a part-time job. That is part of phase 1 to getting my finances back to where I want it to be. And if you need to get a part-time job as well, don't be afraid to do that, okay? If I didn't have a business, like let's say I had a 9 to 5, but it was paying really low, I don't know. I started to say that I might take a part-time job, but I don't think I would do that. I think I would actually be more focused on getting a better paying job. And I have done that actually years ago. I was like an HR assistant. I was getting paid really low. They didn't want to bump me up. So I was like, okay, well, I can't afford to stay here because my student loans were like, hey, bitch, you got it? And I was like, barely. So I was like, well, I've got to make a move because I can't live a quality life off this salary. And I hated it. And so I made a jump of like $15,000 that from HR assistant to office, my first jump from HR assistant to office manager. So that was really cool. So I would focus more, if you're in that position, I would focus more on getting a better paying job versus getting a part-time job, to me, because you still want to have a quality life. You don't want to be fucking dead as a door. Is it dead as a doorknob? I don't know the expression. Is a doornail? I don't know. You just want to be careful about your quality of life. Like when I was in college, I had the restaurant job and I had the retail job. So I'd go to the restaurant job in the morning, then I'd bike downtown to my retail job. But I was just finishing college. Like I didn't have work experience, you know? So it depends on where you're at. If you got to do 2 jobs, do 2 jobs. But that was before I moved to New York and was starting to build a career. So anyway, okay. Talked about the part-time job. So I want to talk about the phases. Okay. So, because I really sat with this a few weeks ago and I tried to think about, okay, what are the phases I need to create into my wealth building journey? Because I understand Dave Ramsey's principles, and my brother-in-law talked about this because he's a pastor and so is my sister. They used to teach Dave Ramsey's principles because Dave Ramsey is very Christian based. Like he's very Christian-based financial teacher. And I guess you could call him a prosperity. Well, he's not a preacher. It doesn't matter. My brother-in-law said they used to teach it, but he mentioned that they stopped because he doesn't think that Dave Ramsey considers all types of people and their backgrounds, which I actually kind of agree with. I think Dave Ramsey comes from a very background of I think he has an expectancy of you should be able to do this regardless of your background. But I think he doesn't consider sometimes the cultural intricacies of wealth building. And what I mean by that is people of color a lot of times have a lot of pressure and obligation to look after their parents. And I just had a conversation with a client about this yesterday. And it can be very difficult to try to build wealth when your mother is also expecting you to support her cigarette habit, but also to support their medicine, right? That might be very expensive, like insulin, or you're expected to contribute a certain amount to the mortgage or gas, these different cultural expectancies that I think are difficult to detach from when you're trying to build wealth and save. So I think it's not a shoe that fits every person, which is why I have modified his plan a little bit. And I also really like Amanda Francis's approach to building wealth. She dubs herself the money queen. If you aren't following her, look up her videos on YouTube, get her book, Rich as Fuck, More Money Than You Know What to Do With. I recommend it to my clients all the time. I listen to it regularly. And it really helps me as maintenance to kind of keep myself in the vibration of abundance, because I feel like December and January, I was really in a space of not enough. I was in a space of worry, fear, and lack. And it was because I wasn't doing my maintenance. I wasn't doing my energetic maintenance of remaining a vibrational match to a certain amount of money or just abundance in general. I was worried, am I going to have enough? Am I going to make it? Because that's the life of an entrepreneur. You're 1 month is really great and things are awesome. And then the next month you hope things are still great, but they might not be because you can't control circumstances. I also do think Mars was fucking my shit up. I'm not gonna lie. Mars retrograde in Leo was fucking my shit up. And I'm still tight about that shit. But it is what it is. I learned next time Mars is retrograde, I'm gonna make sure the purse is cute. Okay? Because that was not acceptable. I felt like I was hustling so hard in December, and I just felt like I was getting scrapes. I felt like I was getting crumbs, okay? It was not cute. Anyway, so look into those different books. I would recommend audiobooks because I don't really be having time to read. I think I read Dave Ramsey's book, but this was, again, when I was commuting, so I had time to read it, highlight on a commute. Now I don't have time. So I want to talk about phase 1. I have 6 different phases, okay? And I want to talk to you about what they are. I'm not really going to give you the numbers, but I want to give you just an idea of how I'm operating to give you something to work towards. And I definitely want to check in with you guys. Like, my goal is to give you guys check-ins from like when I hit certain milestones or when I complete a certain phase, okay? So phase 1, I want to create my emergency fund and my savings, because the savings does not exist right now. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I wish it did. And I was pissed too, because even like earlier this month, I should have been like really good. I ended January really strong. And then my fucking car, I hit a bump and there goes my goddamn strut. And I'm like, you know what? Now, I own my car. I have a thing about owning vehicles. In my experience, I have a lot of trauma from Rent-A-Center and like car notes and things being taken back, growing up. So for me, it's very important to own furniture. For me, it's very important to own vehicles. I don't know, maybe at some point I'll get a car note. I don't know, but I've never had a car note and I don't want one. I want to know that if nothing else, I can get from where I need to go from A to B and nobody's fucking coming for my car. That's really important to me. So for me, I will continue to ride that 2012 until the wheels fall off, as if it keeps my expenses low. And I keep thinking about, I'm like, as much as I have to put into my car, like probably every 3 months, it needs some maintenance. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to just get a car note because, if I do the math, and I'm like, not really. It doesn't really, to me, it doesn't. I'm trying to think. I don't think it probably could even out. But we're talking about probability here, which is like, if I'm making this assumption that based off of every 3 to 4 months that my car needs some sort of big maintenance, would it make more sense to get a more updated vehicle and just pay, I don't know, $250, $300? I don't even know what car notes are today to make a car note monthly payment. I don't like the idea of creating more debt. That's really just what it is for me. At the end of the day, I feel like I need to manage my debt before I take on more. So anyway, phase 1, okay? And maybe we could do this together, okay? And drop it in the comments if you want to do this with me. Now, phase 1 is creating the emergency fund and the savings, okay? So I did the math. I'm still going to do emergency fund of $1,000. That's what I could have had if my car didn't need. You know what? Let's just assume that was the emergency fund, the money that I put to my car early this month, okay? I had the money, praise God, car is fixed. I still can get to where I need to go. But Amanda Frances does talk about this, of like why every time you kind of get money that there's an unexpected expense that comes up and kind of pulls it away from you. It's an energy thing. And she talks about, you don't let that mean anything about your financial future. You just still have karmic shit from the way that you've been thinking about money that's playing out. And I was like, right. And if that really went over your head, let me try to break that down if that went over your head. If you have been somebody who has been thinking about and giving energy to lack for a long time, that's energy that you've been putting out in the world. So just when you start to improve your finances, there's energy that you've put out that is still cycling through related to the lack to take what the newfound abundance. So don't let it mean anything. Just know, okay, I had what I needed. Shift your perspective. I had what I needed for that. Great. I'm still building and I'm going to have more than enough. So don't let it mean anything about your existence now. Let it mean everything about your future. Yes, I'm becoming a person that always has what I need, right? So creating the emergency fund, my goal is for $1,000, just $1,000 emergency fund for unexpected car expenses, unexpected anything expenses, okay? Then I want to have savings for bills and rent. I want to do 2 months. I know, and actually when I quit my job at the end of 2020, at the end of 2020, I didn't have, like, people say you should have at least 3 to 6 months. I had like 2. I had like 2 months really. I didn't really have 3. But like I said, I had some ways of making income. So I was like, okay, I can kind of keep money coming in and kind of be okay. And so just to give you guys an idea, it wasn't until probably the end of May where I was depleted, where I had depleted all of my savings. Just to give you an idea of how, you know, everything, just the money and the finances of it all. From 2021, when I quit my job, December 2020. So from January 2021 to May 2021, by the end of 5 months, I had depleted all my savings, okay? So we're talking about 2025. I want to have money, I want to have 2 months. This is just for me personally. I don't really care about the 3 to 6 month thing. That's just because I have other goals. So it's more important for me to like move towards the other goals than like save and save and save and save and save. So I have a certain amount that I want to save for bills/rent. And at first I wanted to have all that money together, like in one lump sum. But I have a master credit card that's actually pretty high. And then I thought, okay, you know what? Why don't I put some of this liquid and why don't I pay off that credit card? So number one, I can get those payments down. Then I could take care of one less monthly expense, right? If I attack that credit card aggressively, get the interest payments down that I'm paying on that shit every month. But more importantly, that credit card, I gain points from it. So if I start to use it regularly, like let's say I decide to start paying my rent with that credit card, then I can gain points towards travel, hotel, etc. And I would like to use points for holiday travel at the end of the year. I don't know that I'll have enough because I kind of try to look already when I was thinking about this. I try to look, I wonder if I could like, you know, pay it down and then throughout the years use that credit card more aggressively for like rent and groceries and stuff. But I don't think it'll be enough, to be honest, because like the points, like for example, like I think I was looking at, and I need like 40,000 points. And I'm like, all right, I'm not, I don't think I'm going to be using it that much, but it's just something to think about, you know, to start gaining points for things for hotel and travel, right? Because that's what a lot of rich people do. They use credit cards so that they can gain points, and that's how they stay at high-end hotels. And now they have nicer credit cards than me. They have like Amexes and Delta Sky miles. I don't have that, but we have a start, okay? We have a credit card. We're able to gain points. It's a start, all right? So basically, if that made sense, phase 1, emergency fund, just imagine that I split what I need for saving 2 months of savings for bills and rent. So half of that I'm going to put on my credit card. So basically I'll have a few thousand available on my credit card, and then I'll have a few thousand liquid. So basically, if I was to suddenly become incapable of working, I would have some money, liquid and on credit, to move around. Is that ideal? A lot of financial analysts or experts would be like, bitch, don't do that. Keep your money liquid. Don't rely on credit. But I'm like, that's kind of the point of a credit card, though. It's kind of like, that's kind of the point. It's kind of the point of a credit card, to have funds available when you need it. Anyway, my goal is obviously not to pay it down just to use it. My goal is to pay it down, gain points, and keep that credit card clear, okay? Is that making sense? And then I have another bill that's actually pressing that I need to pay. So that's all part of phase 1, okay? So emergency fund and savings, that's part of phase 1. Phase 2, I want to update my wardrobe and furnish my townhouse because I moved out of my 1-bedroom apartment. I threw out a lot of furniture. So I threw out like a dining room table that I had since college. It was like really rackety, and I think I got it from like Craigslist. And then I had an entertainment center that I got maybe from Goodwill that was really old and also from college. And I was like, I can't take this with me. This has got to go. So like 2 big furniture items that I didn't take have made my first level feel really bare. And I'm in my office right now, which I've never had an office before, but it's also kind of bare in here. So I want to get like a table. I want to be able to clamp my mic to the table so I can do some recording for you guys. I really want to start working on transcribing this, maybe transcribing, but like recording a fake audiobook on YouTube of this for you guys. I think that'll be really fun, but I want a nice setup to have it done. Cause I could hook it up. I could hook my mic up to my desk, but it's kind of cumbersome and I want to use a different laptop. It's a whole thing. So anyway, I want to update my wardrobe and furnish my townhouse. Now, this is where like the behavioral things are really important, because for me and what I've grown up with, my mother, she would have like said, fuck the savings. And it would have been more important for her to update the townhouse or get new clothes. And these are the things that I need to uncondition, because I'm like, Whitney, you have clothes, okay? And you have the furniture items that you need in your townhouse, okay? Like everything I need, I have. Everything I need, I have. There's nothing that I need. There's a lot of things I want, but there is nothing that I need in this townhouse right now, okay? So it can be hard to kind of sit with that, because for me, it's hard to feel like I'm thriving when I see the furniture I don't have yet. But I also have to remember, I went through this too when I moved into my apartment in 2017. Like when I moved into my apartment in Jersey, when I moved out of Washington Heights, I think I didn't even have any furniture. I bought a bed from Mattress Firm. I took all my stuff out of storage, and I think I had a couch. No, I had a chair, and I had the entertainment center still that I took from college, and that was in my living room. That was it. Literally just a chair, literally just an entertainment center. And I think, did I even buy a TV? I don't know. I didn't have much is the point. And the table, right? The table, all of that was in my big ass living room. So I have to remember, okay, you went through this at 1.2. I lived there for 7 years. By the time I moved out, I was bursting out of that goddamn apartment. So I try to remember that, of just like being patient with myself and not letting me not having the furniture I want yet mean anything about where I am and what I'm building, because I'm really trying to discipline myself financially. And that's what I say I want to talk about, discipline. It's really important for me, again, with Saturn being in whatever house it's in, to get disciplined about my money, because I think I've been through too many instances these past 4 years where I didn't know how I was going to make it work. And I just don't want to be in that space ever again. I am affirming that the need to have a miracle financially, I am claiming I will never need again. I will never need again. I just don't ever want to be in that position ever. Of course, maybe there might be something that happens, but I hope the circumstances are different. Like I pray that I have rich people problems. Like, for example, if I need a financial breakthrough, I'm praying that it's because I am booked for a tour, because I would like to do a tour kind of like Tyler Henry does his mediumship. I'm booked for a tour and one of the sponsors pulls out last minute and I need to replace. Like, I want to have those problems. I want to be like, oh my God, our sponsor pulled out of this event and how are we going to finance the rest of these shows? And we got to get somebody to sponsor. That's the problem I want to have. I don't want to have the problem of my stability being shaken up and being uncertain there. You know what I mean? I want to have I don't want to have any financial problems, but if I had to choose, it would be that. You know what I'm saying? I want to rethink and rebrand the type of money problems I have, because all rich people have money problems. They just look different. Right? Okay. So, it doesn't matter. I've said enough about that. So I really want to discipline myself to where I know that no matter what, I always come from a position of like, okay, my savings is taken care of. I always have enough in my bills and savings that, like, if I hit a rough patch or if I had a low month, or even if I get sick. If I get sick right now, bitch, I'm out. Like, I will be fucked up, really, if I get sick and I work for myself. I've got this part-time job. If I can't move, and I'm single. I'm single. So if I'm sick, first of all, let's just praise God right now for keeping me safe. Okay. So just note that the furnishing of the townhouse is phase 2, because there's a lot of people who would put that first. And I'm just trying to make sure that I discipline myself to really regrow my savings and really grow my emergency fund to where I'm comfortable again financially before I start to really get this townhouse together in the way that I want to. And I don't mean just like little things here and there. Like, I really want to do a nice job. Like, I really want to make it feel, I want to make it feel sophisticated. I feel like my apartment was a little bit of hodgepodge. It was like a little bit of, but I was in my 20s. So, if it was just making it work and just putting things together. And now I want to really create a sophisticated home that feels really nice and to come into. Really, I keep going back to the word elite. I want it to feel elite. I want to come into my home that feels like me. I want it to feel, so my goal and that's going to be a different vlog series too, because I'm going to I don't know if people will care. I think some people said that they would care of how I'm furnishing it. And I think I'm going to post a video soon about how I'm doing all of my windows. I'm covering all my windows in kind of like this film that looks like stained glass. It's beautiful. I've been racking my brain about this for weeks. So I'm gonna create like a different vlog series of basically like me actually going through the process and decorating my townhouse like room by room. So you guys can see that journey with me, right? Why not? I'm not going to get on a segue about the windows. That'll come later. We're focusing on this. So now that's phase 2, right? So we're making sure our security is in place. And let me be very clear. I don't have intentions of taking the phase 1 money that's meant for bills and savings and rent to go towards the furnishing of the townhouse. Like, once that money is saved, it's locked down. It's locked down. Any new money would be going to furnishing the townhouse and updating the wardrobe. Okay, so I have a budget for what I would think I need. I'm trying to remember, I want a really nice couch, because I'm like, I think that number is really high for what I think I need to furnish my townhouse. But I'm trying to remember, I want a new couch. Like, I have a couch, but it's kind of shitty. It was like $300 on Amazon back in like 2018. So I want like a nice couch. So I think that's why it is what it is. So let's talk about phase 3. Now, after my home is furnished and now after my wardrobe is updated, now I want to pay down my debt. And I know that you might say, well, Whitney, why wouldn't you put your paying down your debt? And when I say debt, I mean my credit cards. Why wouldn't you put paying down your debt first? Now, mind you, a big part of my debt, my credit card debt, is this high ticket, not high ticket, one of my credit cards that has a big balance. That's a big part of it. So that'll already be paid off. Okay. So the credit card debt that I'll have remaining won't really be that much, where I could continue to make the monthly payments on and just kind of then focus later on circling back and paying it down. Mind you, we're not talking about student loan debt still, because I'm just like, the student loan is like, at this point, I just don't care. I consolidated my student loans years ago, so they're private now, and I just really don't care. I just don't care. It's going to be there. I'm not trying to buy a house. I just don't care. Don't care. At least not right now. I'm not trying to buy a house right now. So phase 3 is paying down the credit card debt. And mind you, I only signed a 2-year lease. So I want to be careful to not spend all this time to like save and save and save and save. And then by the time by the time my lease is up, then I have to move, and I didn't get to enjoy the townhouse. So that's part of why I made the decision that I made to put phase 3 to pay down the credit card debt. But again, I'm not worried, because more than half of it will already be paid down. Okay. So my credit score will go up again, which isn't bad right now. My credit card is considered fair right now. My credit score is considered fair right now. But it'll go up once I complete phase 1. Does that make sense? And I hope y'all are taking notes. I mean, I hope you're following. I hope this is making sense. Okay. Phase 4 is, I want to now, after my credit card debt is paid, I want to now save for a house down payment in downtown Savannah. Now we're talking about investing. Okay. So I don't really have a desire to own property in New Jersey. That's where I live. Property taxes in New Jersey are very high. They're really, really high. And I would need to move to South Jersey to have the amount of space that I want to have. Because otherwise, like nice houses like near the city that are closer to the city, they're kind of really close to each other and they're really, really expensive. And I just know, I mean, do a quick Zillow search. The price of a house in New Jersey, you could get so much more space and so much more house for way cheaper in the South. And I love Savannah. I loved it. I loved going to school there. I loved everything about the town. I love how quaint it was. I love how historic it was. I loved everything about it. And I hate how fucking cold it is in here in New Jersey. Like, I'm a Southerner. I was born in Virginia and I grew up in Atlanta. I don't like this. I am not in New Jersey because I love the weather. It is not the weather at all. It is the proximity to the business that I can build that is important. So something I really think about a lot when I think about investment, to me, like, it's not important to me to own property in New Jersey. It just isn't. I will continue renting. And when you own, everybody thinks it's so important. Oh, I want to be a homeowner. I want to be a homeowner. You don't understand when shit goes wrong, it's on you. It's on you, bitch. So that's all the more reason why you need to have emergency funds and savings. If something goes wrong with the house, you want to do renovations and all that stuff. It's a lot of financial responsibility. And as someone who is a single woman right now, I don't want to have. I don't need to have. Okay? You know what I mean? Like, you got to think like that. And now if you are a single woman and it's important for you to be a homeowner, do you, baby girl, live the life you want to create. Me as a single woman right now, it's really important for me, like, as in terms of like buying a home for a family. That's something I'd like to save for when I'm with my partner. I don't need to rush to do that. I want to have an investment property, but I don't need to rush to buy a home. You know. Anyway, so phase 4, I want to start saving for a down payment. Now that's going to be a couple hundred. I would like to save a couple hundred. Not a couple hundred. I would like to save over $100,000. I would like to, because I want to make at least 20%. Of a down payment. I want to make a big chunk. Now, I know that there's programs where you could pay like 2 or 3% or something like that, maybe 5%. And that those programs are designed for first-time home buyers. But I would really like to make a sizable down payment on the home, just to kind of cut into what I would owe on the mortgage. But my intention is, because downtown Savannah is a highly tourist area and the school is down there, Savannah College of Art and Design, which I'm an alumni of, I want to rent it out. I want to rent it out to the parents. I want to rent it out to the tourists. I want to create that seasonal income or Airbnb money. And because my birthday's in August, I want to have somewhere too that I can go whenever I want to relax, or whenever I just kind of want to like get away from the city that is comfortable for me. Like, I want it to be a place that I want to be as well. So that's why I want to put it on Airbnb, so that, like, I don't want to rent it out to have tenants. I want to Airbnb it, and then when I want to come, I can enjoy it because it's my property. Now, the other thing is, I do want to have like a bigger, like, I do want a forever home, which I'll get to. But this is going to be like my first, I want to treat this as my first investment property. So that's phase 4. And so when I'm telling you guys this whole thing, you probably understand by now that this road to riches journey is going to be over the course of a few years. Okay. And what I've learned, which I think is really powerful, when you create intentions like this, of like, this is my phase, like when you create a 5-year plan, let's just say 5. I did this actually a few years ago. I was on an airplane, I remember, and I was like, okay, what's my 5-year plan? Like, what do I want to do? What do I want to make? I actually got there really fucking fast. When I was like, oh shit, that was really, okay, well now what do I want to do? So when you can create your intentions of like what it is you want to achieve, you'll get there much faster than you realize, because you've already set out the goal, right? So I'm anticipating this taking like a few years, but who knows? Maybe I blow the fuck up, and maybe at the end of 2025, I have the money to make a down payment on a house in Savannah. I don't know. So phase 5, pay down my student loan debt, obviously. Here's why phase 5 is after phase 4, because phase 4 is going to create income for me. And so it'll create surplus of income that I can use to pay off my student loan debt. Okay. Which is pretty high, because I went to private art school. That's phase 5. Now we've got money from our income property. We've got money from the business and whatever other resources. Now phase 6 is my last phase, at least for right now, that's as big as I can dream right now. Now I want to save for a waterfront property, ideally in Savannah, but it could be somewhere else. And at this point I would be looking at $1 million homes for sure. And this would be ideally a forever home for me. And I think it would really just depend on whoever the fuck my partner might be. But at this point, I would anticipate my business being of a certain level where I could relocate and it won't matter. At this point, I would expect my business to be mostly digital, as far as like earning money from social media, earning money from private bookings. I did say I wanted a storefront, and I think I still do, but I'm not sure. I that is part of a goal. I would like to have a storefront because I travel a lot for gigs up here. And I have kind of like a dream to have a storefront property where people can have their bachelorette parties, their birthday parties and stuff at my store, as well as come in and get a private reading. But I don't want it to be like the ones you see in the city where like there's a sign, $10 palm readings. I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be like a vibe. Like I have a whole vision for it. So that's not really in the phases really, but I say that because if I have a storefront or not, that might change where my forever home is. But I would like a waterfront property, personally. Not an oceanfront. I don't need to be on the ocean. Just because those storms are intense, and I don't want to do that. I would like to be on a lake of some sort, somewhere calm, okay? Some sort of lagoon, I don't know. Some sort of... But that's phase 6. So y'all heard it here first. It's not really first. I've been talking about this forever. I want a lakefront water property. I have it on my vision board and everything. I want a lakefront water property, and I will have it. So that is where I would like it to be in Savannah. But again, like I said, it'll be wherever I find the right property, the right home. And it can not be in Savannah. I would like it to be somewhere warm, ideally. But like I said, it depends. Like if my business really just continues to grow here in the New York area, then I might have to consider having a waterfront property here. I don't know. I don't know. I'm open, right? But that's so far away. So those are my 6 phases. Now here's some things I want to talk about as well. First of all, let this be encouragement to you. Like, dream big. Do I have money for a multi-million-dollar property right now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, bitch. But I am stepping into the vibration of somebody who will. I'm allowing myself to believe that I will be somebody who will own. Like, I just moved into a townhouse, right? And I'm already believing, yeah, okay, what's next? Right? I'm fortunate. I'm a very future forward thinking person, and sometimes to my detriment. But I'm already thinking about how to expand, how to grow, right? Now, I created all this and I'm like, shit, Whitney, how are we going to, have money for experiences this year? Because that's a lot to get for somebody who's self-employed. Get money together for emergency fund and savings, get money together to update my wardrobe and furnish my townhouse. How am I going to have wiggle room for anything else? Now, I acknowledge that is a lack thought, but I did write down some personal desires for 2025. So I'm not kidding. I wrote Beyonce tickets ? Now, this was in January that I created this, before she announced the tour, but I think we all knew a tour was coming. I have seen Beyonce before, but I saw her at the Georgia Dome before it became the Mercedes-Benz Theater. And I had nosebleed seats. I was really far away. So if I see Beyonce again, I would like to have really good seats. So I don't want to, because I've seen her live. If I go again, I want really good fucking seats. I had budgeted out what a birthday trip might cost for me. And I really went ahead and pre-planned it and priced it out. I didn't book anything, but I priced it out. I considered holiday travel. I put use points, but after further research, I'm probably going to have to put money away for holiday travel as well. And then I also have a budget for holiday gifts and expenses, because last year, this past holiday season, because I had just moved, I was not in a position to travel at all for the holidays. I had just, put a lot of money up to get myself moved. And and it was just a really interesting, weird for me and my family. Like we didn't get together this year. My sister and her and brother-in-law live in Florida. My brothers live in Georgia with my parents. And so we both, me and my sister, were not in a position to travel. So we were just like, we're not going to travel. We're going to have to Zoom this year. We didn't travel for Thanksgiving or Christmas. It just wasn't that kind of year. Just wasn't that kind of year. We were all together for end of 2023. We were not together for 2024. And sometimes it's just like that, honestly. And that goes back to discipline and sacrifice of like, you know what? It's just not the year for that. We need to really be disciplined in how we save and manage our finances collectively versus just like, oh, we got to be together for the sake of being together. If we can't be together and enjoy each other, then what's the point if we're just like worried about money the whole time? So these are some things that I wrote down for like what I needed for 2025, or not needed, but would like to do. Here's the thing that I think is really important. As much as I want to see Beyonce, I think it is more important for me to furnish my townhouse. Like, I think that's really important to me. I would hate to spend hundreds of dollars on a ticket that could have gone to like a new couch or a new TV. I feel like I'll watch that bitch on TV. You know what I mean? And Cowboy Carter is not my favorite album. And I know she's going to perform other songs, but I'm just like, I told somebody the other day, I was like, you know, at this point, it's looking like I'm going to have to see Beyonce when she does a residency, finally, you know, because I just feel, I know she's getting older, but Beyonce has built her wealth is kind of how I look at it. And I'm not there. And so I really want to, again, lean into the discipline of like, okay, I know that I want to have experiences, but I feel like for me, for the past few years, I've had a lot of great experiences, not necessarily Beyonce. Even actually last summer, yeah, I treated myself to Janae Aiko tickets. When money that I technically didn't have, which I bought on credit card, I didn't have it. I was like, I want to go. The ticket wasn't even crazy. The ticket was like 170 something, I don't know, to go see Janae Aiko last summer because she was going to be in my backyard at Prudential Center. I was like, I have to go. And I did. But Beyonce tickets are not 170. I think some people might be finding tickets that cheap, but I just feel like I'm not going to go see Beyonce from Timbuktu. I'm not doing it. So I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about. And the reason why I think it's important is because, okay, these are other things that I want to create money for, but it's more important for me to have the savings and furnish my home, pay it on credit. I don't know that I'll get to phase 3 of paying down my credit cards this year. I'm being very honest because this is a lot of money that I need to get together. But I'm just letting you guys know where I'm at because who knows? Maybe something will happen amazingly where my income skyrockets, or maybe this YouTube channel pops the fuck off and suddenly there's hundreds of thousands of you guys here. I don't know. But I'm just putting it out there of where I'd like to be and what I'd like to build, and eventually, hopefully, I can quit my part-time job. That's the other thing too about this part-time job. I don't know why I'm whispering. That's the other thing about this part-time job. I am a person who, I care about the work that I do, right? I realized and had to learn in 2023 that I'm not a person who can just clock in and clock out. I'm not really that person. I try to really care about the work that I do. I like to bring quality to the work that I do. So this part-time job that I have, they know that I have a social media presence, I have that background, and I talked about it, and I tried to like help them make a video, and I was like, oh, I'll help you guys. But they want like an actual dedicated social media person. And I was like, that could easily be a way for me to make more money and for me to create more income for myself. But I really always look at number one, time. The amount of time that I put into my social media, already a lot. And to now take time away from my business to somebody else's business, that kind of makes me annoyed, even though I know it could all be working and adding to my wealth. Also, the way that the owner is, I feel like it would need to be very hands-on. And if I was going to do something like that for social media, I would want a lot of autonomy. And I just feel like, as much as I want to help them grow their social media presence, I have to learn for myself to not take on more than I need to. And that's been a really big thing for me of like, I know that I have, like, what I mean by that is this. It is one thing to know that you have gifts and talents that you can share, but it is another thing to be discerning of how you utilize it. because I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely help and do this thing. But I'm like, ugh, yeah, I could, but then that's time away from my business, it's energy away from my business, and it's also creating more investment into their business. And I really wanted to just take this part-time job with the clock in, clock out mentality. I'm here when I'm here, I'm not when I'm not. And I feel like if I added that social media element, I'm getting more invested into the business, and I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. I want to just keep it simple, and I want to keep my business at the forefront. You know what I mean? Because I think the other day, like when I was really thinking about this, I started generating ideas for their social media and like all that. And I'm like, I don't want to be thinking about creating ideas for their business. I want to be thinking about creating ideas for my business. So just consider that, y'all, when you're creating your phases, creating your plans. Let's do this together. Think about what your desires are and think about the importance of them. So I wrote them down for my 25 desires, and I wrote out, what it might cost for a birthday trip for me, because I think I want to do like a solo trip this year. But honestly, if I don't have phase 1 and phase 2 completed, I'll take myself to dinner and it's going to be fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's really going to be fine. So that's where I am, y'all. This is my beginning of Road to Riches journey. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk on this. Feel free to drop your phases in the comments, or just kind of what your goals are or intentions. You don't have to drop the numbers if you don't want to drop the numbers, but drop your goals, right? And I'll pray over it. I hope that we all reach it together, because my goal with sharing this journey is that we grow and build our wealth together, that we create financial abundance together. I want to inspire you and exalt you that we're doing this together, that we can then say, oh yeah, we've got savings and we're adding more to it, and we have paid down our credit card debt, and we're saving now for a house, and we're saving now for a second house, and our student loans are paid, and we're about to redecorate the house. Let's tap into that abundance. So I know this video has been really long, and this is not even content I prepared to do today, because actually this is the content I prepared to do today, which I will be doing. I just need to shower, because I want to create some content on rest of February, all signs. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I finally got this vlog going. So thank you for being here. I love you. Let's get rich, baby.